Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I am super excited for today's episode. Before I introduce you to our guest, here's a quote just for this episode. I think leaders are created in the hard times. I think that's when the opportunity to shine comes in. Alec Hanson. Now, that wasn't some band member in the past. That was actually an awesome leader in an industry we know and love deeply on the Culture Matters podcast. That's the industry of the American dream, the gift, creating opportunity for people in this awesome culture that we have. Our guest today has been a friend of the Culture Matters podcast. They've been on episode 515 in the past, season 43. They are not just someone of influence in the industry because of tenure. They have influence because at one point, a handful of years ago, among many things, they decided to put themselves in front of the camera for 100 days of content, which, if you like me, which is cool, if you've been listening to the show, you know that I had done that once and how I molted from that. They're a leader in action, a friend, and someone that I like to learn from. So Alec Hanson, the CMO of loanDepot, is back, author of Bypassed, and the host of the Modern Lending podcast. And I'm really excited to talk about the modern lending and all these modern market. I'm sorry, modern lending, modern
Nailing it.
marketing. I'm getting really excited. Anyway, good. Thanks for coming back to the show. I'm excited for part two.
Let's make it happen,
I could
man.
say
Thank
more,
you for having me. It was
yeah.
insane. That was the nicest introduction ever, brother. Thank you. That was a lot.
I was listening to our last episode 515. Yeah. That quote hit me. I want to start there. You said something that I really think is important from a culture, a marketing, a leadership, the current macroeconomic environment. You said, I think leaders are created in the hard times. I think that's when the opportunity to shine comes in. What do you mean by that? And how do we tie that to the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think in all conflict, or in all, areas where there's hardship, your true self gets a chance to be unleashed, or at least experienced in the world. So, those opportunities come at us, sadly, more frequently than not, but that they're defining moments of who we're becoming is that choice in the hardship. And so from a leadership perspective, clearly, when things are very difficult to navigate and complex, that's when a real leader, a successful leader, will show up. And by the way, it doesn't mean it's their title. It just means it's just who they become in that moment.
What about the individual that's listening to this that is not, let's start with the entrepreneur. They started a business in the pandemic. There are things out of all of our control. The rising tide lifts all boats. And whatever it is, the phone isn't, people aren't calling them. It may feel a little bleak. They're asking themselves as they listen, they just listen to 3 other shows looking for inspiration. Should I do something else or keep at this dream? What do you tell them? Because I'm thinking the leaders are created in hard times. What do you tell that entrepreneur? It's just that maybe they have 2 employees or some subs.
Yeah. I mean, it's really difficult because everyone's situation is so nuanced, right? Like you never know how bleak their situation is, or how on the edge this thing is. And, do they have family? Do they have mortgage due? Like, do they have a way to pivot, and what is it worth for them to stick through it? It's so funny you asked that question, Jay, because I'm just now last night I started with my kids watching that Will Smith movie, The Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah, it's a great movie, and I hadn't seen it for a long time. And then my kids were like, "What's this?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna watch this right now." And of course, he's losing everything. He bet everything on this stupid device that was supposed to, a portable X-ray bone density scanner, and he's trying to sell them, and he can't sell them, and his wife's leaving him, and his kids, it's just gnarly. All I can say back to your situation is, so depends on everybody's personal situation. But I will land back on life is super short. And the biggest thing I have learned from older adults is to try your best to live a life that you're not going to regret. And so are you, a failed business or a thing that you didn't start? I mean, I think that's a badge of honor. I think you learn so much more from failing than not trying. So even if you start a business and fail, the amount of growth and human growth that's going to come from that for that person could far outweigh the feeling of it failing. So I don't know. The answer I would just say is don't do your best to not have regrets in your life. And I think you're going to come out okay.
What qualities do you think, let's say, an employee listening should be paying attention of their organization for what likely is a signifier that they're kind of seizing the moment as opposed to missing it, like slipping through their fingers? What of that moment, like,
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and I'll speak about like this is from personal perspective too a little bit. We get in our grooves, we get in our grinds, we get in our routines, and I think those can stop us from pulling our heads up out every now and then and looking at the forest of the trees. I think that's problematic. It's like charting a course. You have to continue to look at the stars to make sure you're still on the right path. You can't just plot it and push go. And I think a lot of people with just natural entropy, like push go, wake up and turn around years later and go, what the hell just happened? So I think there has to be something involved in just that recentering and refocusing and re-seeing what's going on so that you don't just have your head down and turn around and it's 5 years later. And I think that can help people seize opportunity and find opportunity and take risks and put themselves out if they're not just too tunnel visioned.
I should have asked this because you have so much experience in it. While working and leading and making things happen with your organization, having a high level of responsibility, you still did the videos. You still have started a podcast, figured it out. How many people come through and listen to this show that say, "I wish I could do that"? You've done it with all these obstacles, like all these responsibilities. Where did you start? Like you have this mic, for example. It looks like a great mic.
Yeah.
When did you get it right away? Did you get it later? Like, where'd you get it?
Well, let's dive into that first thing because it's so deep. Managing your business, trying to be as successful as possible, winning in your business, and then doing what you kind of described as the other stuff, the videos, the personal brand building, the content, the podcasting. This is the way I wrap that together. So going back as a young, impressionable salesperson, starting out of college, trying to figure out what to do, I fell into mortgage sales, and I had a really good series of mentors, including my father, who instilled in me some things that I have begun to understand or have been universally true. And in sales, you have to prospect and market yourself to get business opportunities to sell. Anyone that's an entrepreneur, everyone knows this. You have to. But what happens in mortgage and in other industries is once you kind of market and prospect, you get sales opportunities, and then you get to start working on sales, and you get to start working on deals and making sure those deals are done successfully. And what happens is you stop marketing and prospecting because you get into the business. So the things that you use to grow your business, you stop doing because now that you need to get into the business. And it creates this cycle, and you can see it really clearly with individual salespeople, but you can see it at company levels, you can see it at brand levels, you can see it across industry when these companies stagnate out because they stop doing what they did that got them there. Now, I don't mean that you don't have to evolve and become better at those things, but marketing and prospecting are something that you have to have a core decision that these are non-negotiable things, and that even if you get busy with work, you're not going to stop. So leveling that up now, running your day-to-day, building personal brand, trying to make, build influence and connection. This falls back on another core belief I have that attention solves a lot of problems. So if you're a salesperson and you have a lot of attention, meaning a lot of people know who you are and they listen and they pay attention to what you're doing, and you have that awareness, Some people call that branding. Some people call that marketing. And that attention gives you opportunity for more sales, for more exposure, for more connections. And so in my job in the industry that I'm in, getting more industry connection, having an industry brand that's connected to what I do and what I attempt to accomplish in the industry opens up new opportunities for me. I joke to people, but it's tongue in cheek, that I think that I became the chief marketing officer because I put videos on the internet. And it's a little bit like people kind of give me that whole little like, oh, that's cute. But then I'm like, but also like, yes, also these things are connected. And so think of it like from a brand perspective or a corporation. Imagine a company that never marketed themselves. You never knew who they were.
Good.
And they deliver one of the best products in the world for what they do, but no one knows who they are. Immediately you're like, well, they're not going to be very successful. Yes, and yes.
Because people follow me on it, but people follow leaders. Leaders are felt and seen and experienced.
Yeah, I mean, think of it this way. When I was running sales for a large part of our company, I would tell salespeople, get on the internet and get more attention, get more connection, make more content, put yourself out there so that you can generate more business. And then imagine the hypocrisy of just not doing it as the leader. You do it, but I don't need to do it. Well, that's ridiculous. And so that's what started my whole foot into this space that has now evolved into a much more rich and fun endeavor.
I'm going to go a little surgical here.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of individuals in the real estate space, heavy mortgage as well. So it's surgical for a second. What do you think the dynamic of a originator of whatever hat they wear to do that between the realtor partner, how that evolves or what that looks like when the originator is exposed online?
Ask that a different way.
In this capacity, like how does that impact the relationship between the originator and the realtor partner?
Well,
is it an advantage? Or
let me answer that in a few different ways.
Okay, yeah.
So first, Jay, if you're a realtor and I'm a lender and I want to work with you, then you need to know me and like me and trust me.
We've never done business.
We've never done business. And I want, and you do a lot of business. You're a great realtor and I want to work with you. You got to know me and like me and trust me. Well, that means we have to have a relationship, a professional one. And it could be, you could like me personally too, but professionally at least. How the hell do I do that? Well, I can cold call you. I can go to your office. I can send you mail. I can email you. I could call you and interrupt your day. I could text you. I can do 1,000 things to try to get your attention, to try to set up a business meeting, to try to influence you, to get to know me. Social media is just another vehicle for that medium. Now it's rocket fuel for that medium, but now I can show up in your feed and in your life at an increased frequency to speed up the relationship process where you can decide, dude, I like this guy, or I don't, or I appreciate his hustle, or pick the connection point. And then I can do that on top of visiting you at your work, at your open houses, mailing you things I think that would help your business, calling you with ideas, asking for business appointments. I can do all that, and I can now show up in your feed and give you proof that I am who I say I am. I can show my reviews and testimonials, my solutions, my successes. So that is answer one. But the bigger answer, the whole thing here is my job as a mortgage professional is to get loans and serve my customers. That's it. So I can do that with content. So not only can I partner with you, Mr. Realtor, and be great and build a relationship with you, but I can go get my own customers right now. And maybe I can give them to you to be their realtor instead of waiting for you to give me customers for my loans. So the internet cracked open an entire new mindset that people have to figure out. And some are late adopters and it's hurting their businesses, but we're all going after the same customer.
First part, this is exciting. If they see me they're accountable. Wait, I think I wrote this down. If they see me, they're experiencing me, they're watching me. Let's say they like me. Let's just start with the realtor to LO before we go to consumer to LO.
Yeah.
The accountability, is starts to change, because if only I see them and they don't know who I am, I'm accountable to them. Whereas if they see me, they're accountable to me. The reason I'm gonna draw a distinction between responsibility and accountability. Responsibility is modeled in experience, but we model it, we act it out. It's the senses. Accountability is given in speech or taken in action. Like we tell hey, I don't like that, or we say I'm leaving or get out of here. I'm trying to make a distinction between responsibility as an individual experience and accountability is the individual to the other. So you hold me accountable if you say, Jay, try to say that, more clearly. All right, yeah, I'm trying, like I'm projecting, like you're telling me your opinion, that's holding me accountable. Responsibility is like you were here early, you showed up early, because right, so you're super responsible, right? Yep. You're here. So in that case, what I'm trying to follow your thesis here is, if I'm I'm just going to use the LO as an arbitrary example. If a realtor and consumer both, let's say, is watching me, that accountability dynamic has changed, because because they see me. It's not like I'm only seeing them. The information channel is changing. I don't have this thought clearly worked out, but what do you think? How can you help me with that thought?
Yeah. I mean, I think of it like this. So at the core of any business partnership has to exist trust. Nobody's going to work with somebody or something or a product or a company or a person that they don't trust. So if you're a realtor and you're going to work with a loan officer, it's a prerequisite that you need to trust that person in order to work with them. They're an extension of you, an extension of your reputation. Well, how do you build trust? Well, you can do it through performance, meaning I could test you. I could give you a client and see how you do, but that's very risky for me as the realtor to just give you something and hope you do it. I can get referrals about you. So I can ask people, hey, do you trust this person? I do. Okay, well, I trust you and you trust them, so I can extend trust. But that can be hard if you don't have mutual acquaintances that could bridge that trust gap. So the only other way I've ever found to establish trust is through consistency of action. And so if you're a realtor and I show up at your open houses every weekend that you hold an open house for a listing of yours, I walk in there and I introduce myself to the point that you know who I am now, and I bring things of value to see if they could help you, even if you say no, and I consistently show up every time. You know that I am a consistent person, and we start building trust. Now, in order to do that, though, I got to hunt you down at every open house. For how long? I mean, I used to tell people it would take 6 months to a year to build this kind of trust with people. And you got to show up every time and call them and follow up. Now I have social media. And now guess what I can do, Jay? I can show up every day on these platforms. And I can show the consumer and the realtor and everybody how trustworthy and consistent I am. And I can share my thoughts and messages. I could share my expertise. I could share my solutions. I could share my business practices, my ethos. And now I can skyrocket the ability for us to connect and build trust. And so it's just this unbelievable opportunity that never existed before the smartphones and the social media world we're in now. And you can do it at scale because I can reach so many people. And so it's just this unbelievable place and thing that we get to do now that never existed before.
Is it alien to people?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. People are, I mean, I think of it this way. I got a cell phone when I was in college. In elementary school in 4th grade, I remember we got computers and I got to play Oregon Trail and I learned how to type in 4th grade. My kids have Apple Watches. Right? Like, so of course, generations existed with different technologies and different things. Social media came out when we were in college, when I was in college, Facebook. Nobody, so where it's evolved into now, yeah, I mean, of course, people, it's alien. It's not familiar. But there's millions of people though where it's not. And it's just part of life. I mean, think about it, Jay. We're going to see the same exact trend with AI. This doesn't we don't need to go down the trend too crazy on this.
Oh.
But AI is going to be the exact same thing. People that are going to be born using AI.
Yeah.
In a much more mature state than it is now. They're going to be born with it. My kids are going to use AI to write papers. It's already happening. They're trying to stop them from using AI to write papers. But let's not pretend that the next 10 years, the kids that are coming through with AI being a lot more mature, for us, it'll be like, whoa, how do you use it? How do I turn it on? So yeah, of course.
It's interesting. What percentage would you say even is necessary for an organization to get it to move the needle? Because I always think of everything in Pareto, like 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
80% of the action will come from 20% or less of the human beings in the group. Or like I'm trying to be the 80% of the podcasts that are released in 2030 are released by Jay Duran, the culture man. Right? It's like it's
great.
action, like so the 80-20 rule, how many percentage of people in a company, even if this is intuitive, if you're feeling on it from experience, have to own this medium?
So I think it's more of a gradual, I don't see it as a light switch moment. Meaning I know some, I'll use loan originators or realtors as an example. I know some that don't embrace social media's capacity to make this kind of impact on their business at all. Like they're not embracing it. They're running away from it. And their business is still great. They're still doing a lot of business traditionally. And then I see some who aren't as strong as salespeople and they're not embracing it. And I see their business suffering and they don't know why. It's the market. It's got to be something else. And then I see what I'll call more contemporary, like either by age or by intent, who are grappling on, diving deep into these new mediums and experience a ton of success. And then I see people diving into the mediums, not experiencing success and go, well, this is a waste of time. And so I think over time, this whole thing's going to continue to ebb and flow, where the people that do embrace it will start dominating more and more and more. And the companies that have figured out strategies will start dominating more and more and more. And then think of it like a streaming technology. You remember when streaming was really bad? Some people don't, but like I'm talking like LimeWire, Napster style bad.
Yeah, I was playing World of Warcraft then.
Yeah. By the way, I still play World of Warcraft. We should wrap on that.
We never talked about that.
No, I've been playing since it came out, since vanilla. So that's a whole new podcast.
This makes sense why we're friends.
Yep. Gnome Tank for all of it.
Did you ever do 3 versus 3? I'm sorry, ruining the show. No, this is everyone. I bet you this whole time I have listeners that play WoW or played WoW. They're having like a moment right now. Did you ever do 3v3, like 3 versus 3?
I only did PvP a little bit. I was in a nationally ranked 10-man PvE guild out of college. And then I just couldn't commit to the raid schedule anymore. It was just too much. That like 3 hour, I can't, guys. I can't. But I made a really great friend. I'm still friends with tons of those people.
I had 6 or 7 warlocks, and we ran Holy Pally, Destro, Lock, Frost Mage. Anyway,
hilarious.
Wow, yeah. And if my computer never broke, none of this would exist for me.
There you go. Well, see,
I would have still been playing in Azeroth, and none of this would exist. Nothing. So let me finish my analogy. Whole show on that. Like I don't care. You're coming back. I have so many. I still have dreams of World of Warcraft. It's been
That's so years. Good, bro.
Yeah, 14 years I haven't played. No.
So when streaming was really bad, people forgot how like it was terrible. You couldn't. It took 2 days to download a song. It was terrible. And Blockbuster was king of the world. And then streaming technology started to improve, bandwidth started to open up, new technology effectively is being introduced to the society, and now we could start streaming movies. And Netflix was so better positioned, they took out Blockbuster in a radical thing. But I keep telling people, Netflix didn't invent streaming. That was tech available to anybody and everybody. And Blockbuster started a streaming network, but their business was not able to pivot fast enough, and they were destroyed. And so when you look at certain companies or salespeople, I see the same type of thing. If they're not embracing the way the world's moving and evolving their businesses and themselves, they won't maintain their relevance and they will lose. I just don't know how fast it's going to happen. So I do my best to tell originators and realtors that if they're not embracing this and learning it, that they're limiting their potential for success. That's how I word it, not to say you're losing, because maybe they're not losing. Maybe they're still winning in their eyes, but they're limiting their opportunity for future success by not evolving with what the consumer world is evolving into.
What would you say are the attributes of those that are able to lean into that medium? So let's just say for those that are doing content and at a high level, and not let the other spinning plates crash. So let's go let's talk for a second for the ones that are doing it.
Yeah,
spinning plates, right?
Not all humans have the same level of existing capacity. I'll use the gym. Not everyone can walk into a gym and deadlift 400 pounds. You might have to walk into the gym and deadlift the barbell. And you might have to get your form fixed because you're rounding your back. And you might need to learn how to do the lift and then start incrementally adding weight over time. And then you get stronger and you can do it to the max of your capacity. You may never get to 400 pounds, but you can at least get somewhere. That analogy is the exact same with your ability to execute at high levels at work and spin multiple plates. Today, you might not be able to. I'll use an example of you might not be able to post every single day across every single platform, but can you post once a month? Yeah, I can do that. Okay. Then let's start posting once a month. And then let's build some musculature up so that you can actually execute at a higher level with your marketing than once a month. So, and again, maybe you'll never reach the capacity to post every single day. It might not be in you, but you can do more than you're doing today. And you can get on the path. And that's all I really ever ask people to do.
What do you think about Instagram shorts? Maybe I'm not using the word the right way, but those shorter videos, less than 60 seconds, that are produced somewhat, or someone, I'm talking into the camera on some topic.
Yeah.
People are scrolling. They're either scrolling past it or they're listening to it. Why am I doing that?
Well, so you're getting down into tactics and strategies versus like global purpose.
Yeah.
And that's great. But the tactics and strategies are changing all the time. The change, TikTok didn't exist. There's a thing called the TikTokification of social media, where it affected how Instagram and Reels are being done. It affected how people are consuming content. It changed things.
Why? Because the consumer's brain they're changing as gamifying
people preferred it. People weren't hanging around as much.
Interesting.
Which, by the way, I think there's a backlash to this. I think long form content, like podcasting and long form content, is massively going to become even bigger than it has been.
Wait, whoa! We got to let me write that down. I want to come back to that. So just fix that. I'm going all in. All the chips are.
Let me just say a different way. People, your audience, the people that you're trying to influence or connect with, will tell you what they like. Meaning they'll stop watching if your shit sucks. Right? They'll just tell you. So if you put out long form content and nobody watches it, either it sucks or you have a bad distribution process, and fix those. But if you put out short form content, there can be short form content that's great and short form content that's crap. The problem is people forget their purpose. So I'm going to zoom back up. Why the hell would I make a 60-second video and put it on the internet? Forget like, why? Why would I do this? And if you don't have your purpose really grounded, then you're going to fail. You're going to quit. Does that make sense?
Of Culture Matters podcast. That's the culture right there, the purpose.
Yeah, I mean, people say, oh, well, loan officer will be like, I need to be on the internet. Why? Because it'll get me loans. Will it? You sure? What gets you loans? And you got to start pulling that stuff back. Because the answer is yes, you should be on the internet, but you have to really, the first answer is why should you be on the internet? And once you've gotten that answer, then you can start figuring out what to post on the internet.
Podcast medium. What do you see?
I think long form content, podcasts, YouTube videos, are going to be massively important in driving attention in business. People are looking for ways to connect. People are looking for ways to understand things. People want to self-educate. People are looking for entertainment. People are looking for connection points that matter. We're not all just here to like, doom scroll on TikTok. Yeah, I mean, people enjoy that too, for sure. And there's and they'll do that too. But we're also always looking for deeper connection.
What about all these shows? Like, a handful of years ago, it feels like, I'd like your coaching on this. Handful of years ago, it was as like podcasting. What's that? Why are you doing that? Now it's so much of that is happening. It's kind of more accepted. Somebody said, I had a lunch the other day in person, that they had got some messages from some family friends like, oh, congratulations, I saw you were on this podcast. So let's just say anecdotally something's shifting. At the same time, how many podcasts are there? I walk down the street and I say hi to somebody. Before I even ask their name, they say, I have a podcast.
Sure.
So what is happening in the culture in that way? And is there a dilution? Do I matter? Like I do, is anyone ever going to care? Is anyone ever going to listen? There's a sea of these podcasts. How long do I have to keep doing this before I become someone, Alec?
Well, great. So back to the great core question is, why are you doing it? And that's the answer. So for example, everyone's got a podcast thing. It's white noise. There's a million podcasts. Everyone has one. First of all, it's bullshit. Not everyone has one. Let's start there. Second, why do they have them? Are they using it to pitch a product? Are they using it to market themselves? Are they using it to become famous? Are they using it because they feel cool? What's their real reason? Because the rubber is going to hit the road. Do you know how many podcasts are started and then quit?
I
wish I had the number. I should chat GPT it while we talk.
Because you talk to so many people.
It's gigantic. It's gigantic. Most podcasts don't get past 6 episodes. Like, it's gigantic.
Holy moly.
Because it's the barrier to get in there is nothing. You just need a phone and a mic. You're in.
I've recorded 79 podcasts since September 1st.
Yeah, you're a monster.
This is number 79.
So my point is, most people quit because they're not connected to their why. They don't have a real reason they're doing it besides this look trendy or cool or Gary Vee told me to or whatever they have.
Can I tell you my why?
Yeah, go.
This is my culture. Like I'm friends with all the guests. Half of them I like. I haven't tallied it up in a couple of weeks. There's some new guests. There's around 260 though, with the standard deviation of like 12. It's my culture. And I couldn't explain what culture was without boring people or making them tired from the words I was using. So it's like, this is my culture. This is culture. it's the easiest way for me to teach culture. It's by relationships and people that are introduced to me from guests, and I care about the conversations. I'm preparing. I'm trying to grow and learn. So that's why I do it. The purpose is to uncover the genius of our guests with the goal to make you, the listener, cool. I actually wrote that down. I used to say it in every episode at the beginning, and then Jeff Silva, one of the guests, was like, Jake, can you just not say that every time? Like, I think you're just better than that. And he cares about me. So I was like, all right, let me try it this way now. And I might come back later and do it a different way. But that's my one. Thanks for asking. Thanks for bringing this up, because I feel like I need to say it. But like, that's my why. This is my culture.
Yeah. And you got to be grounded in that, or else you'll spin off course, and that goes back to, I'll walk you through this now, a process I've done with lots of salespeople before. I say, why are you in this business? And they go, well, I make money. And okay, great. Why? You can make money in lots of different ways. And we just kind of go play the why game. And we inevitably find ourselves layer by layer by layer down to the core part of it, which is, I like to solve problems, blah, blah, down to, I get a lot of value from helping people. And taking a complex problem and solving it for somebody and making somebody a homeowner for the first time is amazingly emotionally and for some spiritually fulfilling. And I go, good, perfect. And so you want to do more of that? Yeah, I want to do more of that. Okay. How do you do more of that? Well, more people have to know me. Like, okay, I got it. More people have to know you and know what you do. And I go, great. So how do we get more people to know you? And as we continue to walk down this path, we inevitably find ourselves back to what we kind of started with, Jay, which is attention and sphere of influence and size of your community. And the vehicles that can help you get there are social media and traditional stuff, newsletters, written word, podcasts. There's 1,000 things that can do this. But then now we can talk strategies and tools. Now we can talk about strategies and tips and tactics with the tools. And they might involve 60-second clips. They might involve long form content. They might do all these different things, but that's the path I've walked thousands of people through. And it doesn't mean they're going to execute with all the tools they have available to them. Everyone can start a podcast. Everyone can do videos on TikTok. Everyone can do, everyone could write a book. Everyone can do all these things. It doesn't mean they're going to use all the tools. But if we at least understand what they are and start building plans and thoughts around them, we can move the needle forward for people. And that's been one of my joys in my career.
Someone that's in your space that's attempting to do this and has been for some time, but doesn't feel is they're getting the support from the organization that they desire. What can they say to you? Send you a message to get your attention and to get a relationship?
I'll tell you two things on that. First, when I was a junior loan officer, just starting, didn't know anything, I emailed the top loan officers at the company I worked for at the time, 20 years ago. And I said, I will drive to your office. I just would love for if you'd have time for a coffee or a lunch or anything where you would just tell me how to be successful like you. Jay, not one person said no. Not one person said no. So reach out and ask. Now, the other comment though, just ask. Like the other thing though that I will say is when you made that comment of like if they're not getting enough from their company and they blah blah blah, I just want to give a little bit of a gut punch with love that people just need to stop making effing excuses and hold themselves accountable to what they want. Because we have, like never before, more access to information than ever. And I get some of it's hard to navigate through. But I mean, I watch YouTube videos on how to tie a bow tie because I wanted to learn how to tie a bow tie. Like, stop. There's 1,000 million resources available to you to get from A to B. You don't need to call Alec, but you can.
I'd like your feedback for, you said you just asked. So the other day, it was like 11 p.m. and I said, I want to ask some people to be on the show on Instagram. Like, I don't generally like to just ask somebody because they appear successful. Because culture, it's also, I want to pull people up, not a hand out, but a hand up.
Yeah.
I sent 40 messages out, and my message was just, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? 29% of the people said, yeah, in like 3 days.
Let's
I like
unpack
it
this
to like,
though.
like on the playground where you just
Yeah.
want to play with somebody.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to play? I didn't like, you're not going to go up and say some massive thesis on why you need to play with your little friend on the playground. But I was curious what you think about, because this, I was, it's like data collection too. Like, because I'm nothing. I'm obscure on I don't have a blue check mark. No one's following me.
So let's unpack this. When I worked for the company and I asked people at my same company for advice, there was an immediate connection, right? They knew we worked at the same company, and I was asking for a hand up, and I was young, and so that they said yes. I didn't call Elon Musk and say, "Can you train me?" Because I would never, right? Like, so when I say just ask, we should. There's more access, like the internet, like you were on the Instagram just asking. We should ask, and then we should also realize that not everybody is going to just give a hand up.
Reese Witherspoon has not responded. I just want to.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm sure she's a nice lady.
Yeah. So, but then there's huge learnings in that. Why didn't they respond? Well, maybe they don't know who I am. Maybe they get 1 million direct messages a day and they filter them out. Maybe their agent manages their phone. I don't know, but like, we can't take everything personally. And then we can try to fix that and try to figure out how to create a connection point to get a meeting and a request. I'll give you a hysterical story. So I like the rants and ramblings of Gary Vaynerchuk. I find him delightfully entertaining. Great. I find him totally entertaining. He's wacky. He's not for everybody. I enjoy him. So I wanted Gary Vee to be on my podcast. I wanted to bring Gary Vee on because I love this guy. I think he does a lot of things, says a lot of things right. In fact, he was a major inspiration for me starting something because he finally said the same thing he always says, which is just start doing this shit. And I was like, oh, I guess I should. So of course, Gary's not responding to my direct messages. I'm trying. I'm sending him some notes. I'm trying to get in touch with him. Impossible. And so then he starts to sell NFTs. I didn't know what an NFT was. I was like, that's a weird thing. That looks like a JPEG. That you're selling digital JPEGs? This is bizarre. On the blockchain. And I go, I don't even really know what that is yet. So I check it all out. And lo and behold, one of those stupid things would allow me to bring him on as a guest on my podcast 2 times if I bought it. Now, would I have paid money at this part of my career to have Gary Vee as a guest on my podcast? Absolutely, I would have. He wouldn't answer me, but I absolutely would have paid him money to be a guest on my podcast. And so I had to use resources, and so I bought one of these things. I don't know. I auctioned it. I bought it, and I went on his podcast, and now like I can text with Gary. We're not besties. I don't violate that with interrupting his day, but like I've seen him at a few events now. He knows who I am, and we have a better relationship because I leverage resources to make that happen. So it's not just about asking sometimes. That's why I wanted to unpack this. We should ask, but then we should also, be good salespeople and marketing people and go after what we want strategically too with tactics and strategies.
In closing, why did you write Bypassed, and why should the audience invest in it?
That's a great question. First of all, I donate 100% of the proceeds from that book and the audio book to an organization called Freedom Alliance that supports our veteran community. 100% of the money goes to support veterans that have a lot of their families when they've been injured or deceased. And the reason that I do all that, and the reason I wrote the book, was because exactly what I said to you about asking. When I was coming up in the industry, incredible people poured insight into me for free. They just told me what to do. And I put my own spin on it. I learned my own way through it. I had to navigate different circumstances than them, like you'd have to today. But man, they changed my life forever because they just invested in me and told me what to do. So I wrote a book telling people exactly what I would do, what I'm doing to drive success. So it's my give back to the industry. So anyone that asks me, what should I do? I send them a copy of the book. And I've also have a video series on this, and I just give it to them. And I go, because this is what people poured into me and gave me for free. And so I'm just going to give it back.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to listen to Bypassed and have you back to talk about the book in detail, and
some more
if
Warcraft.
The new expansion is worth it for me to get back on the saddle. But yeah, we'll explore why Gnome Tank, but we'll get into that. For those that know, they know. For those that don't, I'm sorry. Stay away or go all in. Alec, thanks so much for coming back to the Culture Matters podcast. Shout out to episode 515, season 43. If you're listening to this podcast, go and listen to that episode. Very different episode. Follow Alec, listen, get his book, listen to his podcast, Modern Lending, and we will see you next time on the Culture Matters podcast. Thanks so much, my friend.
See ya.